Guten Yontef, Bruchim Aboim, Shem Hashem. To know what today is, it's very hard to explain after the words of the Rebbe, Tovshin Menvov, Shabbos Parshas Tovei, when the Rebbe said, Ich bin gekommen zurück von Euhel und ich bin gewinn sicher, Sie sind nach Hadron. I don't know if there's any possibility to explain what a Hadron means. But for sure, it's something that we have to go over and above our usual, everyday, what we are doing. Chodesh Elul is, everybody knows, Melech Basode, Ani Ledoidi Vedoidi Li. I just wanted to share with you a story which is connected to Melech Basode, and I heard it firsthand. Tovshin Chov. Tovshin Chov, it was the first time when there was a charter, a group coming from Eretz Yisrael, for Chodesh Tishrei, a group coming from London to the Rebbe. And the people that came to the Rebbe those days were very numbered, but it was a big excitement because for the first time, people came to the Rebbe, as we can say in a way of a Hadron, over and above their abilities, and they're able to come. And it was a very big simcha. Why? Because people were getting ready for this for maybe half a year. There was a younger man that came. He was already on Shlichus, this in Tovshikov, in a very far country. He just got married 2 years prior, and he came for the first time to the Rebbe. And they came the day that their charter group had to come to the Rebbe. He had to go back to the Mokim HaShlichus. He was staying in front of 770 and waiting for the taxi to take him. And here he's staying like an oval. Oval means Chodesh Elul, but he felt like an oval. Everybody is talking about, everybody's coming, the plane is coming tonight, and it's a big Kabbalas Ponim. The whole Elam is going to be Mikabel Ponim, and the Rebbe is going to Mikabel Ponim. There was a chidus and a lot of excitement. And he's staying in front of 770. Not long comes one of the maskirim of the Rebbe. His name was Quint. Quint was Elio Quint. And he says to the younger man, "Was guckst du so?" So he looks at him and he says, "They're all coming and I am leaving." He walks into 770. Less than a very short time, he comes back and he motions to him come in. And he follows him and he pulls him straight into the Rebbe's room. The Rebbe was sitting and the Rebbe gives him a smile. Sidoch HaMelech Basode Umekablim Pono Besever Ponim Yoifes Ushoichekus Shoichekus Uyoifes. And the Rebbe gave him such a smile, and this was good enough for him. The story I heard from one of the senior shluchim, Harav Gershom Ben Yurelik, that happens to be my uncle, and this is what HaMelech Basode is. We are gathered here tonight for a very special Fabrengen. It's 120 years, this Yazdus of Yeshivas Tamchet Mimim. And just before, I don't know if you guys get, but we get a lot of things, it's called WhatsApp. We got a Chassidish Sharid screams out, "If nicht im Chet Mimim, nicht in Welt." This was Rav Osher Batume, Rosh Sasonkin. If you have to see it, how he's saying it from the depth of his heart. If there's no Toim Chet Mimim, there's no world. Toim Chet Mimim is something that is called, that the Rebbe, when he asked it 120 years ago, he says to the Tmimim, one of the things that the Chayole Beis David. Chayole Beis David is something completely different. Now, I am not going to speak too much about it because Baruch Hashem, we have here many speakers, but I just wanted to say one thing before we start, before we introduce our Chosheve guest here. 50 years ago, the Rebbe came out with a campaign, מבצע תפילין. And בהשגורת פרוטיס, if we're going to say the Chitas on Friday, there's a passage to say, V'ro kol bosor kishem Hashem nigro lecho v'yor memeko, and this goes on tefillin, and this is basically when the Rebbe came out with מבצע תפילין, was in the time just before Milchemet Sheshet Yomim. I'm not going to go through the whole history, but the fact is, since that time on, and as much as the Rebbe spoke about it, we know that hundreds of thousands, more than hundreds of thousands, over millions of Jews had put on tefillin because of the words of the Rebbe, and it brought change, made a chadaron in the world of Yiddishkeit and in the world. Here in Montreal, Baruch Hashem, we took upon ourselves a bunch of young light which were encouraged by the shluchim and working together with all the shluchim, and we made an organization that people should go for מבצע תפילין, and in the short time that we were involved in that, I'm not going to go to stories, but I'll tell you one thing. Just to see that young light that haven't gone to מבצע תפילין was probably from the time of the yeshiva, which was many years ago. Now they're going with their children. How excited and how happy, how they feel they changed their entire life. It made a change to themselves, it makes a change to the children, when it's the whole thing is completely comes in a practical way. Maybe later on I'm just going to explain you a little bit about these special stands and what we have in way to for the program. Just like to ask our dear Yeshiv Roish, Tzirei Agudas Chabad in Montreal, that is the man behind the entire force, the head of the Shluchim, the head of Tzirei Agudas Chabad. Tzirei Agudas Chabad means every single younger man is part of it. I'd like to ask Harabel Mochkin to come up and say a few words, please. Mochkin.
Today's Sedre says Vioniso Viomarto. One of the teachings of Vioniso is you should Speinigen and Viomarto on top. In today's Parsha Chumash says Haskes Ushma Yisrael. To teach that you have to put your Haskes, you have to put yourself, put the ears strongly, in other words, deep. What? Hayim Hazen Yihiyei Sol Leon. That's today's Parsha. And Rashi says that from that we know that B'chol Yom Yihiyu Beinecho Kachadoshim, that the Torah, everything what Hashem said, so every day it's like new. It's not the type that it was said before, it's an old story and an old commandment. It's every time and every day it's a new thing. The Rebbe brings down concerning Chai Elu, the that Chayel is of the Yontev of the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe. And that's merumas in the Pasuk of Hayim Hazeh, Nihiyei Saliyom. The union of the Baal Shem Tov was to be Mekari all the Anoshim Pshutim. Das is the Leom, Amcho, Anoshim Pshutim. And then the word Hayim Hazeh is the Gemat which the Rebbe brings from his father, Rabbi Levi Yitzchok, that Hayim has developed the word Hayim Hazeh, the Gematria is 3 times Shem Havaya, but it's gate of Chabad, Chochmah Bina Das. So actually we can refer it also to Tesvov Elul, which is the Hayim Hazeh Nihiyei Saliyom for all of us, which we were all Tumimim. We were born in Timchat Mimim and grew up in Timchat Mimim, and we are still in Timchat Mimim. And the Avedim, so now which is 120 years of Timchat Mimim, V'hoyu Yomov Meyo V'yesrim Shono, that's the Hayim Hazeh. That's the Gilui what Timchat Mimim brought down to the world, that through Timchat Mimim we are all alive. Today, the Bachrim, the younger light, don't realize so much what is the achievement what Timchat Mimim gave them. What's the great thing of Timchat Mimim? But those that went through a couple of years before can testify that if not Timchat Mimim, we will all not be here, and B'meila the young Bachrim also wouldn't be here. Nothing would be here. It's only Timchat Mimim that kept and held Yiddishkeit, Chassidus, Mimim through all out the years. So that is the Nekuda of Tmimim, Tomim Tiyeh. And the 50 years of film is comparison, we can connect it with that about the union of the Baal Shem Tov, that the union of the Baal Shem Tov, the way it is, the Rebbe said is merumas in Hayim Hazeh Nihiyei Saliyom, so the union to go out and put film to each and every Eid, whatever, even though he's completely not up to it, so to say. He's on Miloshen Eimemus, Yecholim Eimemus. And that is the union of Timchat Mimim that the Rebbe made, and that's the union of the mitzvah of film, the Nihiyei Saliyom make from the Om to be a Am Kodesh. That is the union of 50 years of mitzvah film. And the union of what the Rebbe said, the zweite union in the Nihiyei Saliyom, Hayim Hazeh Nihiyei Saliyom Chabad, obviously that's what Timchat Mimim brought down in the world, the hergish of Einheit Milvade, the kochim Chassidus, that there is no world and out is a lakus, thus is the union of Timchat Mimim, but that is today's day, the 120 years of Timchat Mimim. I will just tell a little story once I'm holding as usual. There was someone, a shliach, not a shliach, a yid that was going and putting on film in a certain city, in a certain place, putting on film with him, and there was one person that he used to approach to put on film, and B'shum Eichen he didn't want. And there was years passed by that he was trying to put on film with him and didn't help. One time he asked him, and he said, yeah, he met him and he saw that he is something, he's kind of in a good mood. So he's talking to him and asking what happened. So he said that he came home, he found by the door a paper about mezuzah. Chaverim and Tzachtik and Chabad, whatever he called them. So they gave out a paper about mezuzah. And at that moment, he decided, he went and bought mezuzah for every room in his house. So the shliach thought, the person thought, he probably now will be successful to put on film with him. Nevertheless, he didn't want. He said he was raised in Shemer HaTzoyim and is completely away from it. So the shliach said, thought for himself, that before Rosh Hashanah, I'm going to Rosh Hashanah to the Rebbe. So I usually would take the names of people that you have to do with and bring to the Rebbe. So he suggested that person, he shall give his name, he shall write to the Rebbe. Didn't know how, so he told him, write your name, your mother's name, and ask a bracha for Hatzlocha in Ruchnias, in Gashmias and in Ruchnias. So he agreed, and he gave him. When he came back afterwards from the Rebbe, he met again that person, and he asked him to put on film, and he agreed. So some say that how come he payed on him now to put on film, because through the mitzvah of mezuzah, because he put on mezuzah, so now the Eibishter held that he agreed also to put on film. And the other way is because he was mentioned by the Rebbe, and that what made him, his heart, his neshama, awakened to put on film. So that's the same two inyonim that today, when we celebrate 120 years of the Chedmim, and 50 years of film, that is the combination that will so bring, that will find his galus of the Rebbe, and Mashiach shall come now and take us out of galus and bring us to the Geulah Shleima.
We know Eine Dei Maria Lishmir. We have with us here a good friend of the Chabad community, Mr. David Kakun. He just wants to say in a few words his story about what he's up to now because of Mivtza Tefillin. David.
I see this side of the room clapping. The middle is so quiet. We took a family vacation specifically to my sister-in-law in California, my wife's sister, because she was pregnant and there was a bris, we wanted to be there. And so, in fact, we got the good news a few days before our trip was planned, and there would be a bris the time that we were there. So, California, here we come. The Shabbat dinner before the bris. Now, my sister-in-law grew up here in Montreal, Sephardic. She brought with her many good values to a very nice family in California. 5th generation American Jews. Very integrated into American society. And she really brought many things to them, including Shabbat dinner. So we had Shabbat dinner before the bris. The bris was on Sunday. And I see around real American guys. And I got up and said a few words. And the words I shared were very simple. And I said, really, it's a miracle that this boy is having a bris. It's a miracle this boy is a Jew. They didn't know, and some don't know, that 4/5 of the Jews in Egypt stayed in Egypt. And how many stayed in the desert? How many of the tribes, we don't know where they are. 10 of 12 tribes, we don't know where they are. The Greeks, the Romans, the Spanish, the Russians, the Germans, and the biggest challenge of all, the Americans. American society. Opulence, integration, comfort, convenience. The fact that this young guy, my brother-in-law, married a Jewish girl in itself is a miracle. He had no connection to anything Jewish until he met her. And so really, it was truly a miracle that this boy was having a bris. And those are my words. A man comes up to me after dinner, and Thomas Quinn, an Irishman, and a very important man in California. He actually happens to be the man behind Governor Jerry Brown. He built Jerry Brown's career, the governor of California. And he comes to me and says, you did something to me. I said, okay. He said, I want to share you my story. Go ahead. He says, my grandfather was a yeshiva bachar. He studied in Russia before the revolution. And he was imprisoned for sharing Yiddishkeit and studying Torah. Now, he felt that while he was in prison, that the rabbis didn't come to his rescue. His version of the story. However, the secular, maybe the pre-communists, they were making themselves available to help him, to put pressure to get him out. So he told his wife to get on a boat to Winnipeg. She got on a boat, and the boat that she traveled on was such a boat that they would lie on a piece of wood, a plank of wood, with another plank of wood 10 inches above her nose. And they would let them off this plank 4 times a day for short periods to relieve themselves, to take a short breath of air. And it was a slow boat. 1/3 of the boat died on the way. So you could imagine she's lying there, making her way to Canada on a very difficult journey. He eventually leaves prison and joins her. And the first thing he does is rejects totally Yiddishkeit. He rejects Judaism 100%. Didn't want to hear about it, doesn't want to know about it. So much so that his daughter married an Irishman, Quinn. And they had a son. This man, Thomas Quinn, who's at least 80. So I looked at him and said, you're a Jew. He says, I know. And there were people around snickering, laughing. This guy was known to be the most non-believing, atheist, nothing. And I told him, a Jew does certain things to make his commitment as a Jew. I asked him, did you have a bar mitzvah? He said, of course not. My father was Irish. I said, long shot, but did you ever put on tefillin? He said, of course not. And then it dawned on me, and I asked him, and we take for granted that this could even be real, that this could even exist. I asked him, did you ever say Shema Israel? He looked at me, he said, what is that? So I said, Tom, you know, on Sunday morning, I could bring my tefillin. I left it at the Chabad over there. I'm going to bring my tefillin, and if you want, I can give you a bar mitzvah. And he looked at me, maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds. You could see that he wanted to say no, but he looked at me and he says, you know what? I'll say yes. So Sunday morning was a bris, and on the same table next to where the bris was, as soon as the bris was over, I took out my bag, took out the tefillin, put on his talit, he said the bracha, put on the tefillin, he said his bracha. And with so much intensity, 100 years, nobody in his family ever said Shema Israel. Nobody in his family ever put a tefillin. Since his grandfather left Russia, he looked at me, didn't blink. Shema Israel, Hashem, Hashem. And I don't know who felt it more, him or me. But my body shook. And he stayed there for a moment, his eyes fixed. And we danced. We said L'chaim. And that was it. A Jew was born. One a bris, and in that moment a Jew was born. It happens to be that other people were around taking pictures. Another man. Did you ever put on tefillin? No. Do you want to put it on? Absolutely not. Him, it didn't work. It didn't work. But he's married to a Moroccan woman. And let me tell you that when he went away, I went to talk to her. And she's been telling him every day since, what's your problem? Just put it on. And trust me, I'm going to get an email soon that he put it on. But what worked with this gentleman, and you know, I see how hard you guys work, all of us, to have an impact. But what worked is that he opened his heart to me. I didn't come and say, do you want to put on tefillin? I didn't try to pry open his heart. He came to me and he opened his heart to me. And then it was so easy to come in. The yes came so easy. So that's my tefillin story.
Thank you very much, Benny. Just before we introduce the second speaker, I want to tell you that a shliach here in Montreal told me, not long ago, that every time, wherever he goes, not only the Chabad house, wherever he goes, he always takes its film with him. Always takes its film with him, so whenever he comes in touch with another Eid, with another Jew, and it's appropriate, he puts on film with him. And it's stories upon stories. A shliach also deserves a vacation. He went on a vacation, and he went to Eretz Israel. He went to Israel, and when he was in Eretz Israel, he was there with a group, and then he took on himself, he was walking, him and his son, and they were going in a very busy shopping center mall in Yerushalayim. It's vacation, take it easy. A young fellow soldier comes over to him, תגיד לי, אתה חבדניק? How do you know I'm a Chabadnik? You know, vacation, but he still looks like a Chabadnik. יש לך תפילין איתך? And that's when he stopped. He did not, on vacation, he did not take the tefillin with him. Since then, he took upon himself, no matter what, wherever he goes, whether it's on vacation, whatever, chas v'sholem, you have to go to visit somebody in the hospital, anywhere he walks, every place he goes, he's taking the tefillin with him, because we are 120 years Hayole means David. We cannot hide it. You go in the street, a person knows right away that you're a